Hey everybody, it's Grandmaster Ben Feingold with the video of today, of the day, something, something. Um, yeah, so far the year's been good. Made a video last night, and I actually haven't looked and see any of the comments or who's watched it or anything because yeah, we've been pretty busy so far this year. I had to give 3 lessons this morning, or 3 hours of lessons before noon, and then we had some other stuff to do also. So I took my walk today. It was too cold outside. I mean, I could have done it, but it was like 20 degrees. So I don't know. Might have been slightly dangerous because of the wind. I guess the temperatures are much worse in the northern, northeastern U.S., but I don't think people are going for 30-minute walks there. Luckily, we have a treadmill, so I did that today instead. Still vegan. I don't think it's really that difficult, although I think when you don't eat at home, I don't know what they're doing at the restaurants, probably just taking turds spitting in my food. Don't spit in my eggs, don't spit in my eggs. They can't spit in my eggs anymore because I can't eat eggs. So there you go. Okay, don't spit in my egg beaters. Let's see what happened in chess today. I've been following the tournament in Sweden, Wilton Cup, which I think it's the 47th annual version of this event. My student Matt Larson's playing there, and some other Americans are playing, like Dean Ippolito, Justin Sarkar, and the 2 super Indian talents, Nihal Saran and Pragnananta, are playing also, and lots of other there's probably like 30 grandmasters playing. So I've been following that, as well as other stuff. I want to show a game I never showed you before, and in fact, before 15 minutes ago, I never saw this game. I wanted it to be an old game, and I had a particular opening in mind. So in the French defense, in this position, this is one of the main lines. White can also play e5. And here black can play either take on e4 with the pawn, bishop e7 or bishop b4. Bishop e7 is probably the most common. Okay. Now in this position, if this was played in the last 50 years in a Grandmaster game, it's at least 95% that white would play e5. But 150 years ago, probably bishop takes f6 was the main move. And I was playing a 10-minute game today with Karen at the chess club, and we got this position, so I played bishop takes knight because I like playing old moves. It's not a good move, but it's interesting. And in this position, Karen played bishop g5, and I think I played knight f3, and she played bishop h6, and I got a big attack, and I won. So bishop e7 is the main move. Now the game we're looking at today is actually played in a Blindfold Simul. Black is an unknown player. This was played in Moscow, I believe in 1902, and white was one of the greatest players ever, but he gets almost no credit, Harry Nelson Pillsbury. I would say before Fischer. Okay, maybe Reshevsky. Maybe. I mean, before 1970, we'll say 1960 to be safe. The greatest American player was Fischer, and I don't know who was better, Reshevsky or Pillsbury. I mean, Reshevsky has a big reputation, but probably he has a better reputation because, he played, basically top-level chess for 50 years, and Pillsbury played, 2 centuries ago. Anyway, well, Pillsbury obviously won Hastings 1895, so ahead of all the best players in the world. And Pillsbury was particularly good at giving simuls and blindfold simuls. I don't know how many players he was playing here, but somewhere between 2 and 10, I guess. Okay, so white is one of the greatest players of all time, and black is somebody. I don't know. They have his name, but no, of course he's an amateur player. Okay, queen g4. Castles, bishop d3. So the problem with this opening, I mean, nowadays, grandmasters don't like giving their bishops away. And I think what black has to do is hammer at the center with moves like c5 and f6, maybe even f5. Okay, c5, good move. I mean, he took, which I think you have to do. I don't think you want to let black take on d4 or play knight c6. So. And he played knight d7 because he's not sure which pawn he wants to take. Knight takes e5, knight takes c5. Pretty reasonable. Queen h3. Well, threatens queen h7 mate, and it forces black into a big decision. It's not clear to me right away if he should play f5 or g6 or h6. Obviously should play one of those moves. Played f5 and played f4. I think if I was giving a blindfold simul, it would be very difficult not to play e takes f6 because I want to have an open position with an attack. I don't want to have a blocked position when maneuvering around because I might get confused in a blindfold game. Okay, but he played f4. Knight takes c5. Looks like a normal French. Long castle. a6 seems pretty slow. It seems like a reasonable move, but it's not getting a big attack for black against white's king very quickly. G4. So right now it's probably like 5 or 6 in the morning where Matt Larson is in Sweden, so he's probably not watching this right now. But if he was, he'll like the move G4. Knight takes d3, getting rid of the white's nice attacking piece. Rook takes d3. And this is 2 bishops against 2 knights. So obviously that would usually favor the bishops. But perhaps in this position, since we've castled opposite sides, we would prefer white because white's going to be more likely to have an attack against the king. Seems like black doesn't really have an attack against white's king yet. F takes g4. I don't like that move. Queen takes. That seems to just help white. d4. I don't like that move either. Because knight f3 just attacks the pinned pawn. The pawn's not attacking the knight. It's pinned to the queen. So I think black just made 2 bad moves in a row. And again, he's not a grandmaster. He's an amateur player playing in a blindfold simul. So, okay, queen b6. And Pillsbury wins a pawn. a5. Now, obviously, something's gone wrong when he plays, a6 and then a5. But yeah, d4 didn't make a lot of sense. Okay, rook g1, threatening mate again. Queen takes g7 mate. Rook f7. Knight to e4. Very nice, getting another piece involved in the attack. a4. Knight f6 check. Well, you can't take with the pawn. It's illegal. Taking with the rook hangs mate in 1 again. So he took with the bishop. I guess it's also possible to move the king, although I don't like it. King f8 just hangs the pawn with check on h7. And if you play king h8, I'm sure that queen h5 is a good move. And maybe there's better. Okay, so he took. Again, you can't take the pawn, because if rook takes f6, queen takes g7 is mate. So black played a very tricky move, especially in a blindfold simul, because, sometimes when I'm playing blindfold chess, I have no problem at all. I know everything is better than people who are watching. And sometimes I get confused. It just depends on how hard I'm trying and if there's any money at stake, if I'm getting paid for the simul, if there's a lot of spectators, then yeah, the more serious it is, the more likely I am to try harder. I actually played some blindfold blitz chess the last couple weeks because I'm doing the chess camps, and the kids are rated like 300, so I can beat them blindfolded pretty easily. And sometimes I get confused because obviously I'm not putting 100% of my energy into the game. Okay, so e5 is a very tricky move because it attacks the knight on d4, and as many of you have noticed, it also attacks the queen on g4 via discovery. Bishop takes queen is a threat. In fact, even in a slow game, it might be hard to figure out what to do here with white. For example, if you play knight f5, which seems to save everything, I take, and then the rook on g1 isn't defended because the queen is on g4 anymore. And obviously knight e6 is just hanging the knight. All my pieces are attacked, so this seems actually quite tricky. And in a blindfold simul, more so. Okay, and he played queen h5. I don't know what he saw. I assume he saw everything. Now, black played the move queen takes f6. So after e takes d4, which wins a piece, I guess pause your video and try to find what Pillsbury had in mind. Okay, now I didn't turn the engine on, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Rook takes G7, and if Rook takes G7, Queen E8 is mate. And if you don't play Rook takes G7, you'll get mated in 1 by either Queen takes Rook mate or Queen takes H7 mate, depending on where the king goes. Well, I wonder when Pillsbury played Knight F6 check if he saw takes, E5, Queen H5, and Rook G7. I mean, I doubt it, but maybe. Seeing 4, 5, 6 moves ahead during a blindfold simul seems almost impossible, but what do I know? Okay, so he played Queen H5, and Black was up to the task and did not hang mate. He played Queen takes F6, because that pawn on F6 is very dangerous. F takes E5, Queen check, Rook to D2. Breaking my rule, always play King B1. Bishop F5, that looks pretty bad to me. E6, removing the defender. The rook is defending the bishop, so it has to move vertically. And then E7 threatens E8. So yeah, Bishop F5 I don't think was a good move. Probably losing anyway, down a pawn in a worse position. Okay, we have to stop E8 queen, so he played Bishop G6. Queen D5 check. And Queen D8 check is unstoppable. So a very high level game from Pillsbury, considering it's a blindfold simul. I think even if it wasn't a blindfold simul, pretty good game. The game concluded Bishop F7, Queen D8, and Black resigned. So a crushing victory against an amateur player, but it seemed like a pretty reasonable amateur. Obviously playing A6, A5 isn't very good, and D4 didn't make a lot of sense. So, but yeah, I mean, you have resources. Since you're obviously on the internet, you can look up Harry Nelson Pillsbury, look at the cross table for Hastings 1895, and about, I don't want to be inaccurate, I'm going to say 15 years ago. That way I'm probably less than 5 years off. There was a book written on Pillsbury, a very good book by Nick Pope. He's a Michigan Class B player, and maybe he's the pen name Jacques Pope. I think he does that. I don't know if it's easy to buy or not, but I heard it's a very good book, and it's very complete. It talks about Pillsbury a lot in his life, and simuls, and blindfold simuls, and tournament victories, and so forth. I think, you know, my class that I do every other Tuesday at the Chess Center, Great Players of the Past, I mean, we talk about those kind of players because, especially the young players today, they don't really know about the players from the 1800s, even though Fisher said that Morphy was the most accurate player ever. So obviously, people can play chess back then. Well, I hope you enjoyed that game. Consider a donation to our Chess Center so I can keep making videos and keep being a vegan and walking and choking on my own rage. Rawr. Way to have sparkling water. It matches my personality. That's better. And so on. Ooh, my dog's making a weird noise. Good job. He doesn't like my video, I guess. Everybody's a critic. But my dog is probably just mad because we played a few blitz games before the video and I beat him 3 out of 4. He thought he was going to split. But I mean, he's 4 months old, so you give him a break. He's not 4 hours old like Alpha Zero. Anyway, let's see, what's our schedule? Every Friday we have a blitz tournament at the Chess Center. I don't care where you live in Mongolia, get a plane ticket to Atlanta, we have a big airport, and come visit our Chess Center. Every Friday is blitz. Every Wednesday we have a month-long. Every Wednesday we have a month-long? We have a game 75. You play 1 game a week forever. And then Tuesday's the lecture, Sunday's the lecture, and Saturdays are our tournaments. This Saturday we're having a game 30, 5 rounds. We'll get about 30 players, and we have a lot of prizes, and so forth. Mainly, and so forth. Okay, see you guys next time. Like, subscribe, you know, all that stuff I never heard of. YouTube, Instagram, I'm making this stuff up. Twitter, Facebook, my YouTube page, and our Chess Center YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe to that also. And don't forget to click the donate button. Remember, the more you donate, the more you learn. Bye, everyone.